Hey everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Okay, so today we are doing my July wrap part 2, talking all the remaining books that I read for the month of July 2023. If you have not seen part 1, I recommend going back and checking that out where I discuss the first 5 books that I read, but I will give you a very quick mini kind of wrap, a mini little, overview of what I did in that video with the stats in just a moment. But speaking of stats, let's get into my favorite part of doing monthly wraps by putting the entire month's stats up on the screen in 3, 2, 1, go. So for the month of July 2023, I read a total of 10 books comprising of 2 dystopians, 2 cozy mysteries, 1 thriller, 1 LGBTIQ+, 1 contemporary, 1 memoir, 1 horror, and 1 romance. And I'm so proud of all the different genres that I'm reading in every single month. It's fantastic. Alright, let's move on. To my age groups, I read 4 YA and 6 adult books. No middle grades, but I did have to push 2 books, my final 2 books from my July TBR into my August TBR. One of those 2 was a middle grade, so I'm not too downtrodden about that. But 4 YA and 6 adult is still good. It's still a relatively good mix-up between those 2 age groups. To my lengths, I read 2 3/4 tomes, 5 half tomes, and 3 novellas, totaling 2,990 pages. And to my star ratings, here is the big mic-dropping news. For the first time in I don't even know how long. When it comes to my star ratings for a monthly wrap, I have Goose Egg 0 5 stars, which is not like me. And, it just worked out that way, but I was more and more perplexed as the month went on, thinking, am I gonna get a 5-star this month? Turns out, no, I didn't. It's okay. I'm not upset, but I just found it funny. I've always at least had 1 5-star at the end of each month, but none in the month of July 2023. Oh well, that just means I'm sure that I'm gonna have some amazing 5-star books in August, because, it would just work out that way, right? Let's move on. I had 4 4.5 stars, 3 4 stars, and 3 3 stars. So the good news is, despite not having any 5-star reads in the month of July 2023, I also didn't have any 2 or 1 stars. So that's good. Alright, so let's quickly talk about the books that I discussed in part 1. I'm just going to do this very quickly. I DNF'd this book, Shutter Island, by Dennis Lehane, I think his name is. The book wasn't vibing with me after the 2nd chapter, so I looked up the premise of the film, looked up the trailer of the film, didn't regret it at all, completely DNF'd. It just wasn't the book for me. The first book I read was Call It What You Want by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a YA contemporary. I gave this book 4 stars. The second book that I read was Crossed by Ali Condi. This is book 2 in the Match series. It's a YA dystopian. I gave that book 4 stars. The next book I read was Bridge Over Troubled Dreams by Delta Goodrem. This is an adult music memoir, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. The next book I read was Pretties by Scott Westerfeld. This is a YA dystopian, and I gave this book 3 stars. And the final book I mentioned in part 1 was The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This is an adult thriller, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. So now that you're caught up in the quickest possible way that you can be with everything that happened in the first half of July 2023, let's jump into all the remaining books that I read in the second half of July 2023. But before I do, if you have not already, please do hit the subscribe button below. It costs nothing and really does help my channel. So if you are feeling particularly generous, I would really appreciate your support. And if you feel even more generous, if you could give the video a thumbs up, that would be amazing. Feel free to get involved in the discussion in the comments below as well, if you would like. Alright, now let's move on to the rest of the books that I read in the month of July 2023. So the next book that I read in the month of July 2023 was this book, Blueberry Blunder by Amanda Flower. This is book number 8 in the Amish Candy Shop Mystery series. It is an adult cozy mystery, and I gave this book a total of 4 stars. So the premise of this one is that in this one, Bailey, who is our main character, Bailey King, is talking with her construction manager for her candy factory. However, they can't agree on things, and so she fires him. The next day, he winds up dead, and Charlotte's father is taken in for the murder. Bailey may not like him, but she knows he's innocent. So she sets out to solve the case. So to my thoughts, I loved everything on the cozy side. I love everything on the cozy side of this series, and this book was no exception. Coming back to the series after 6 months, because that was when I read book 7, 6 months ago, was like being welcomed back by family with open arms. It was great to catch up with Bailey again, as well as Juliet and Jethro and everyone else. The mystery was so-so, but I'm mostly not here for the mystery, so I can be forgiving of that. The reveal, however, did surprise me, and I can't wait for the next book in the series. So I gave the book 4 stars in total, deducting 1 star for the not-so-intriguing mystery, but I love this Amish candy shop mystery series so much. My question, the other day I came across a great question for readers, which was, if you could have the author of your choice in front of you right now, what one question would you ask them? And it's really interesting because if I have a question for an author, I'm just going to go right out, find them on social media and ask the question. If they get back to me, they get back to me. If they don't, they don't. But 9 times out of 10, they do get back to me. So I was thinking, what would I ask these days? I have no idea. And then it came to me. I would want to sit in front of Amanda Flower and say, will there be more novellas in this series? Because as much as I love the series, and I do, I also love the novellas, and I want to know if there'll be more of those around. But anyway, as much as the mystery didn't intrigue me as much, as I say, I read the Amish Candy Shop series for the cozy side. It got 4 stars, and I cannot wait for book number 9, which I will quickly spoil. Part of the title of book 9 has the word taffy, I believe. So, ooh, very intriguing. Thank you, Amanda Flower, for another great book all in all. 4 stars from me. The next book that I picked up is a book that I picked up over 3 years ago. So very quickly, I started this channel in 2020. Within the first half of that first year on my channel, I picked up this particular book. Let's put it on the screen. It's called The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakovic. I picked it up, and I was getting distracted a lot of the time while reading it, so I ended up shelving it. Unlike a DNF, for those who don't know, a shelve is a situation where you put a book down back onto your bookshelf, but you plan to go back to it later. I always planned to go back to this book. What I did not know was that it was going to take me over 3 years to get back to the book. I finally did that in July of 2023, and I finished the book. So yay! Just goes to show, it doesn't matter how long a book is shelved on your bookshelves, there is still time to go back to it and to finish it. And on top of that, not only to go back and to finish it, but it still has the potential to get, as this one did for me, 4.5 stars. So this is, oh gosh, I'm going to call this a new adult, as much as I don't believe in the age rating of new adult. It is technically that. It's not exactly YA, it's not exactly adult. It is literally in the middle of the two. So it's a new adult contemporary. Now, I need to really quickly let you all know, if you go on Goodreads, you will see this listed as a new adult contemporary. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's listed as a YA, which is funny. It shouldn't be. It should be listed as a new adult. But anyway, it is listed as a YA on Goodreads, a YA contemporary LGBT book. Okay, hold the phone. Anyone who is a fan of LGBTIQ plus books, anyone who wants to pick up LGBTIQ plus books, please know when it comes to this book, there is a side character that we don't get to see often that just so happens to be gay, but the book has nothing to do with the fact that he is gay. So please know going in that if you're going in for the LGBTIQ plus side, you're going to be disappointed if that's all you're going in for. Okay, just be mindful of that. I have heard as the series goes along that it does get more into the LGBTIQ plus side than we do in book 1. So I'm hoping that is the case. Now, the premise of this book is that Exy, EXSY, is a sport that combines the sticks of lacrosse, the field used for soccer, and the walls like squash. Neil Jostin has had one tough life growing up. The only thing that kept him going was Exy. One day, in his run downtown after a match, the coach from the PSU Foxes, a college team, drops by to offer Neil a full scholarship. Neil doesn't know whether to sign on or not, but when the coach tells him the team is all about giving second chances, Neil jumps on board. However, being that everyone on the team is getting a second chance means they all come with their own drama. Can Neil keep his head down, or will he end up being involved in the drama too? Only time will tell. So to my thoughts on this book, and I have to say that picking it up after having shelved it 3 years ago, was fantastic. If you go back and watch some of my other videos, even this year, you'll see me mention this book, and even last year and the year before, I have videos where this book just comes up. And recently, I think it was either a monthly wrap or a TBR or something where I said, this video is proudly sponsored by the Foxhole Court, which I will get to one day. I remember saying that very recently. But yeah, it just keeps coming up for me. So I'm so glad that I did finally read this book. But one thing that I realized upon this read of it is just how much Nora Sakovich loves exposition. There is so much exposition in the first half of the book. While I get that there is a lot to grasp, I just feel there were better ways she could have gone about piecing and parceling out all of the information. In saying that, the plot itself was a whole lot of fun. The ending was a cliffhanger I had no idea was coming, and I'm intrigued to see how this affects things moving forward in book 2. All in all, I grew to love the team and their flair for the dramatics, and can't wait to get into book number 2. Once again, please do be mindful that while this is marked as LGBT, that's more because of a side character who is gay. I do hear, as I said, that this does, that they will expand on this in other books in the series, but in book 1, just be mindful of that. But I still love the book for what it was and gave it 4.5 stars. I do recommend it. I think if you can deal with exposition, as I said, Nora Sakovich is very exposition heavy in the first half, then I think this is something that you might like. Plus, it is self-pubbed, so if you want to support your self-pub authors, this is the way to go. The next book I read was this book, Escape by Ian Rob Wright. This is another Ian Rob Wright book for me to read. This is my 5th Ian Rob Wright book, and I'm reading my 6th Ian Rob Wright book in the month of August. I have fallen in love with this author. This is an adult horror. I gave this book 4.5 stars, and when it comes to horror, the saying I have on this channel, which is an unpopular opinion, is if you love your adult horrors, put down your Stephen Kings and pick up some Ian Rob Wright. The guy is a gem. Oh my gosh, when it comes to horrors, he is. I am yet to read a book from Ian Rob Wright that has let me down. And I am someone, if I'm going to go into an adult horror, I need it to be adult horror to the highest horror degree. And so therefore, if you're not someone who wants a full-on horrific book that you're going to read, then maybe don't read Ian Rob Wright. But if you are looking for that, I don't get why King gets all the credit and Ian Rob Wright doesn't, because to me, I've read a lot of Stephen King books. Just a quick side tangent. I've read a lot of Stephen King books, and really, they haven't scared me at all. But Ian Rob Wright's books haven't failed to either scare me or have me on the edge of my seat or something like that. They are true horror gems, so I do highly recommend them. In this one, the premise is that Cheryl wants to get to know her co-workers. That's the only reason she agreed to go on a company outing. She and 6 of her colleagues are going to be locked inside a room with only their wits to help them. If they escape in time, there will be prize money. Fail and the repercussions might be deadly. Cheryl will soon find out that the people she works with all share a secret, one they are willing to kill for. So to my thoughts, and there was a slow start, which I deducted 0.5 stars for, but seriously, Ian Rob Wright is the horror author for me. This book came as a personal recommendation from Ian Rob Wright after I wrote to him telling him how much I loved his other book, The Housemates. I can see why he recommends this one. It was just as good. The way Ian can take ideas and make them into a horror that is an actual horror never ceases to amaze me. I plan to read many more of his books, and so far I've read 5, including this one, and the man has not let me down yet. Again, if you are looking for a fantastic adult horror, I highly, highly, highly recommend Ian Rob Wright, and this book, and The Housemates, and others as well. My gosh. Amazing stuff. The beginning was a letdown, but it was only a 0.5 star deduction, 4.5 stars from me. The next book that I read has seriously been a long time coming, and that was this book, Lament at Loon Landing by Josh Lanyon. I was about to say by Ian Rob Wright, by Josh Lanyon. This is book 6 in the Secrets and Scrabble series. It is an adult male cozy mystery series and book as well, and I gave this particular book a total of 3 stars. Okay. I need to preface my mini review of this book by saying that I think it was the long wait that led to my eagerness, and that turned this book into a disappointment for me. Because this book was initially set to be released in October of 2022, and it finally got released in May of 2023. So I had been waiting a very, 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 very long time to finally get to this book, and my anticipation, my eager anticipation only rose and rose and rose and rose with time. And then when I finally got to the book, I think my overly eager anticipational expectations let me down when it came to actually reading the book. So the premise of this book is that when legendary folk singer Lara Fairplay agrees to make her comeback appearance at Pirates Cove's annual Maritime Music Festival, everyone in the quaint seaside village is delighted, including mystery bookstore owner and sometimes amateur sleuth Ellery Page. Lara is scheduled to perform a recently discovered piece of music attributed to the father of American music, Stephen Foster. Several mysterious accidents later, Ellery is less delighted, especially when it becomes clear to him that someone plans to silence the celebrity songbird forever. So to my thoughts. Okay, so I make no qualms about it. I freaking love this series. If you know me, you know that. Ever since I picked up Murder at Pirates Cove, book 1 in this series, I have spoken about how much I love that this series stands on a limb in that we have a male protagonist instead of a female for a cozy mystery. The male protagonist just so happens to be gay, which is unexpected for a cozy mystery. I love the town of Pirates Cove. It's so whimsical and wondrous despite the fact that it's not a fantasy series. I love Ellery as a protagonist. I love his partner Jack Larson and their dog, and I've forgotten the dog's name, which is really sad, but I love the dog as well. But I love the cozy aspects of this series as a whole so much. When this book got delayed again and 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 again, and that doesn't even sound like a word anymore, but it kept getting delayed, what it did for me is raise my already eager anticipation for it. I think this ultimately led to its downfall for me, as on the whole, it's not a good book or a bad book. It's honestly quite average. I love Ellery and Watson is the dog, woohoo! And Detective Carson. But once the introductory cozy side ended and the mysteries began, I just ended up getting quite bored of it. The mystery did not intrigue me at all, and then when another mystery was added, someone we knew of but never met before died, I was just rolling my eyes because both were boring mysteries. The murder was boring because we didn't really know the victim at all, and the singer's mystery was boring because some believe she was making it up. Her mystery isn't death related, and to me, I was wondering if she was making it up too, and so I just didn't have as much intrigue because is someone actually out to get her, or is she making this up? And if she's making it up, then it's kind of, I don't know, to me it's kind of sad, but anyway, look, but honestly, I love the series and I love Josh Lanyon and I loved the cozy side of this book, but the mysteries were a real letdown, and that's why I gave this book 3 stars, which is the lowest rating that I've given any of the books in this series. But I must say the cover alone deserves 5 stars. I have been looking at this cover ever since the original anticipated release date of October. I love the blue background. I love the musical sheet sheet music, sorry, and like the flames on the sheet and everything. I just love this cover. It is absolutely gorgeous. So the cover deserves 5 stars, but the book from me got 3. And the final book that I read this month was this book, By Your Side by Casey West. This is a YA romance, and I gave this book a total of 3 stars as well. Okay, so backstory with this just very quickly. I want to read more YA, well, not necessarily YA, but I want to read more MF romance this year, because I have read a number of different books for a number of different genres, but I feel like I could afford to read a lot more MF, aka straight romance. I have read 3 Casey West books already to this point, so I liked them, so I figured why not just keep reading some more Casey West, because she has so many YA romances, so I decided, let's do that. And this was the book on my TBR for this month. So the premise of this book is, when Autumn Collins finds herself accidentally locked in the library for an entire weekend, she doesn't think things could get any worse, but that's before she realizes that Dax Miller is locked in with her. Autumn doesn't know much about Dax, except that he's trouble. Between the rumours about the fight he was in, and that brief stint in juvie that followed it, and his reputation as a loner, he's not exactly the ideal person to be stuck with. Still, she just keeps reminding herself that it is only a matter of time before Jeff, her almost boyfriend, realizes he left her in the library and comes to rescue her. Only he doesn't come. No one does. And that's where I'm going to leave the premise for you, because the rest just needs to be read. Okay, so to my thoughts on this, and this book took me some time to settle into, but I appreciated the premise. Boy and girl locked in a library over the weekend. Don't really know that the two don't really know each other, but will by the time they get let out. What surprised me was, and this may be a spoiler, but I'm spoiling something that happens a third of the way in, so I think you can forgive me for that, because I don't think this should be a spoiler. In fact, if it is, it's a spoiler that should be told so that you're not falsely advertised for the book. And that spoiler is that both characters are let out of the library a third of the way through the book. So I struggled to see where we were going to go from there. I thought the entire book was going to be about that. They're both locked in the library, there's no way out, they will have a romance, and the book will end with them being let out after they've gotten together, then they had a big fight, then they broke up, then they got back together again. Oh, how convenient, they got back together again right before they were let out of the library. The end, how beautiful. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then a third of the way through the book, Casey West threw me for a loop because they were let out. And then I thought, okay, yay, they're out, they're free, but where do we go from here? Because the whole purpose of the book was them being locked into the library. So where are we going from here? But, look, I think all in all, it was a good book. I appreciated that our protagonist Autumn deals with anxiety. I also love how Dax would discuss her anxiety with her. I've read a number of books with characters that deal with anxiety, but this one showed specific strings of anxiety, proving that anxiety in and of itself is not a monolith, which I truly appreciated. Dax is a character that is very interesting and intriguing, and I wish we could have gotten to know him even more. All in all, to me, however, it was an average book, but it won't stop me from reading more of Casey West's books, and I already have another one of hers for my August TBR, so we'll see how that goes as well. But I gave this one a total of 3 stars. And now for everyone's game that we like to call Up. These are all the books that I read in the month of July 2023. What books did you read in the month of July 2023? Let me know in the comment section below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone.